What's going on, everybody? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Awaken Your Relationships. I am Julie Murphy, and I'm the money chick. And I always say that we work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, or through our relationships. And so I have aligned myself with other people with expertise, and Rita here today has been chatting with me for, wow, I think 18 months we've been doing this, sister.
No way.
I know.
Really?
And even, I know,
Wow.
crazy, isn't it? That Rita's the relationship expert, and so we don't play tennis between it affecting our health or our relationships or our money. Let's just get to the crux of what's really going on with you, and that's why today we're going to talk about talking your truth, right? It's all about being you.
Mhm.
Be 100%
Mhm.
you.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. So I was talking to you earlier about so I have a new client of mine, and what I offer most women is support. Like when they're going through a transition, they're
Right.
in touch with me, they can text me, they can do whatever they need to do. Um so I can kind of help them through when they're stuck, when somebody triggers them or they're in an argument with somebody or whatever, they get like boots on the ground support.
Totally. I remember the day,
And what
yes.
I yeah, and what I find is that I find that women believe that to solve a problem, we need to actively do something. Like we
Mm.
need to be out there and we need to
Or fix it or
we need
people
to
please it.
yeah,
My big thing was
yeah.
I always thought I had to fix it, and it's like, "No, no, 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 no. I really just need to let it fall apart."
Mhm.
Which,
Mhm.
wow, I don't like anything falling apart. I'm
Mhm.
a perfectionist.
Right. Right. But you let it fall apart because here's the thing. We all think that and this is why I didn't do my own I don't know, there's a frog in my throat. This is why I didn't do my own healing work for a long time. I did healing work on other people because I was worried that if I started to work on myself that I would fall apart. And the thing is when you do it in a
We actually
healthy
fall
way, when you
together.
do it
Can I just
yeah,
say that I
we
think
fall
we
together.
actually
We
fall
actually
together?
stay grounded.
Yeah.
We're able to stay grounded. We don't have to lose ourselves in it.
Nope.
We're always worried like if I go to a therapist, I'm going to have to revisit my story. I'm going to have to talk about it. I'm going to have to re-traumatize myself. I'm going to have to do all
Right.
these things. And you really don't. To put it in a simple way, you just kind of need to let go and let God, but in a physical way. And what that looks like in the physical realm is just like what you and I talk about, smelling
Right.
essential oils, listening to music that grounds us, connecting with nature, anything that brings us back to our authentic self. And then we
Totally.
realize you only need to tell the truth
Right.
and then wait it out.
And I know for those of you who are watching, you might be like, I show up with the truth all the time because that's a story I always told myself. And it really, truly, that's what I believed. And I think it's important to understand that when you've ignored your own heart for so long because you're trying to fix it, you're trying to take other people's viewpoints into account, you're trying to, balance things, you're trying to harmonize all things that us women do naturally because we were supposed to be the arm candy, right? If you think about the generations before us, we were just supposed to be meek and quiet and right next to the guy. And we were just supposed to adapt, right? So there is a good thing about that. But then there's also the piece of, oh, what happens in that process is we're not actually speaking from and acting from our actual truth and what's going on in our own hearts because we've kind of rolled over our own hearts for so long. And then that just builds up and builds up. And I remember as I was untangling all my stuff, I was sitting there going, you know what? Um, what does my heart want? I mean, I remember it was as simple as things as like my boyfriend would ask me, like, no, you always say, well, you pick dinner. Because, wow, that's what I've always done. Because if everyone else was happy, I was happy, you know? And whether
Hmm.
that was with my siblings, my parents, my friends, like whatever, I just adapted. I just adapted all the way across the board. And I
Hmm.
made do. I'm one of
Hmm.
12 kids. Where I was going out to eat didn't matter. The fact that I was going out to eat was actually an improvement from my childhood, right? Because we ate fried bologna and spam and spaghetti, right? So it really honestly didn't matter to me. But then it was like, he would literally sit there and be like, he like just go, well, we're not going to go anywhere until you decide where you want. And I was like going, I like I could not even come up with it. It was so fascinating. And now a couple years later, I'm sitting here going, oh, I'm super clear. Like and then what do we do? What do we do? We first go like, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want that. And it's like, no, how do we shift it to what I do want? Like it's literally a flip in your brain grooves. And it's like when you're unpacking and you're actually letting it just fall into where it's supposed to because you're in tune with your heart, it's like, whoa, it's you're turning something on that you've never turned on before. And that's foreign to a lot of people,
Yeah,
you
to
know?
feel good, authentically good, and not and feel like you're making yourself feel good. You know how to feel good. You'll
Right.
never be trapped in not being able to feel good.
Right.
When you've got that like superstar ability, life goes a lot easier because if you study spiritual practices like the Tao, the focus is all about just be still
Mhm.
and let all of the drama happen around you. If you stay still, you'll see what the next step is. You'll see what you need to do
You
next.
do.
It's when we're all over the place that we're distracted by this old memory and that thought and that belief. And this stuff's pretty deep. I mean, I'm watching society, how even enlightened men, and men who have more feminine energy or whatever, how their old beliefs about women are coming up.
Oh, can I
Whether it
tell
be,
you?
yes,
Holy crap.
yes.
This last week has been off the charts. And these are
Well,
men that
tell
I
me about it.
love
I want
and
to hear
I
it.
adore, and they
Yeah,
are so
yeah,
conscious and they are so aware. And I'm like going, dude,
right.
where did that come from? And
Right, right.
I cannot agree with you more. And I kept going, oh, like I literally had a team meeting yesterday and I said, hey, you know what? I could have turned on my masculine energy right with all of you guys. But then all of a sudden I go, oh, what is my work here? My work is, oh, I'm supposed to be in my feminine energy, not my masculine, because God knows I have a very sharp masculine energy about me. I'm in finance. I know how to run a business. Chop, chop, chop. I know how to do it. But oh, the feminine energy is I was supposed to just allow them to have whatever they had to work out, work out. I was supposed to hold space. I was supposed to just sit and be and let it shake out. And then when asked, guide. And it was
Tell the truth.
fascinating.
Yeah. When asked, tell the truth
Yeah.
and let it
And then the
land.
truth landed like flies on shit. It was
Right,
like,
right.
it was terrible. But it was like, but so I just sat there and I was going, well, so what's interesting is as we go through these things, so all of you that are watching, first of all, I want to remind you to make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification so you know every time that Reed and I are chatting about these things. Because I guarantee you it's going to help you improve your relationships because we go deep. We go super deep. And what I
With
realize
real
is that,
things that everybody's going through. Yeah, with real things that women are going through right now. I mean, I
yep,
help women around the world, and the misogyny that's been coming up, the the old beliefs about who deserves what and entitlement, especially when it comes to women and their bodies. I mean, it's like I really have to spell this out. I really have to say this.
you do.
But we do. Women are having to step into it and be like, I guess I need to say this, but okay, here we go.
Well, and so here's what's interesting. Then when we do say it, right? So if we've been hesitant to say it in the
Hmm.
past, and now we're like, For
Mhm.
whatever reason, it's opened up and now we're ready to say it and we're ready to
Mhm.
stand in it. The test has been like, ooh, how did that just trigger your not enough button and your I'm not worthy button? Because I remember
Oh
going,
yeah.
well, I'm enough. Good thing that button's kind of turned off compared to where it was 4 years ago. I'm like,
Right, because when you tell the
holy
truth,
cow.
many people don't know how to react when you tell the truth. And so you're going to get a wide variety of reactions, and you have to be super confident in yourself to deal with the other person's insecurities, their feeling of
Their
not being enough,
projections, their
their
emotional
wounds, their
projections onto you.
projections. Yes, and you have to be able to stand there solid, grounded, speaking the truth, and let them go through whatever drama or whatever experience they're going through until it settles out.
So
And
true.
protect yourself at the same time so you don't get
Right.
hurt. But you
Right.
have to be able to withstand that emotional reaction from people when they're dealing with their own feelings or old memories.
It's so true. And really understanding that it's their stuff, it's not your stuff. Even
Mhm.
my one of my kids said to me, "Mom, how do I know if it's theirs or mine?" And I go, "Well, you can, just put your hand on your heart and start to tune in. Is like, is this mine or am I feeling this?" Because she feels everything around her. She's a very strong empath. And so I'm teaching her how to understand like what's hers and what's not hers, of what she's just feeling from the field. I watched this fascinating YouTube video the other day on the science of how our bodies actually work. That we actually have brain cells in our hearts that
Mhm.
when we put our hand on our heart, that we actually activate those brain cells, and that's how you then start to get the connection between our heart and our heads, called coherence. But then when you
Mhm.
master activating those brain cells in your heart and then connecting it to your brain, the sonar, if you will, from your brain, and this is all from an organization called Heart Math, um, that the
Yes,
sonar
I love
that
heart
goes
math.
out
In
from
fact,
your
I'm like
brain,
trained as
it's
yeah, I'm
40
trained as one of their
signals a
facilitators.
second. 40 signals a second. That's your beacon
Mhm.
going boop, 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 boop,
Mhm.
boop, 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 that's
Mhm.
going out into the world. And you go,
Mhm.
holy crap. Like, so if you're not in tune with your truth and your authenticity, what beacon are you putting out there that's not even you? So, like, if you really want somebody to love you in a relationship, well, you sure as heck better be true, because otherwise, if you're not true, you're attracting what you don't want.
Right. You're buying like a sheep waiting for a wolf to come get you. When we're when
Right.
we're in that helpless, not confident, insecure, oh no, I'm controlled by my feelings, which is what happens to all of us.
Right.
But when we stay in that space, we're putting out a call to any predator that's out there
Mm.
because that's their match. They're looking for, the weak and the sick, and when we play it small, we come across as weak and sick. You have
Mm.
to get present every day. You have to meditate every day if you can. You have to get grounded every day. You have to do all of that work if you don't want to sound like a wounded animal on an
Right.
energetic level.
Right.
If you want to attract relationships and people that really serve your best interests, you have to be confident inside as well as out. And that only comes with connecting and reconnecting to your higher self.
Right.
That's where confidence comes from.
It's so true. And it's just the repetitive nature. Like, pardon me. I always say that when you're triggered, that's about you. And everybody I say that to is just like, "Oh, of course you're saying that." As they're triggered. And I'm like sitting here going, here we go. I mean, it's human nature. Like, I have a mentor that says, if you point a finger at somebody else, there's three other fingers that are pointing right back at you. And so it's like, and that's what the trigger is all about. It's that when you are triggered, it is about something that needs to shift inside of you. And that's not necessarily easy for all of us when our nervous systems are hijacked. I know when we were first getting started, you were talking about that you've been helping people get through their nervous system and the PTSD, like how to revive themselves. Can you go into that a little bit to help people? Because I think there's a lot of people who I don't think, like myself, that they realize that it's PTSD. Like you think of PTSD with people who go off to war and then come home, and you don't realize that if you're in a relationship that you chose to somehow not show up in your truth, which then allows the wolf or whoever to get you, because what did you say? When we play small, we come across as weak and sick, and then you're like feeding grounds for anyone who wants to play out their trauma. It's not that necessarily they're bad people, but they're playing out their trauma, right? And this is what the human psyche does. And then it leads to then when you have years of that built up, it leads to a situation where you wind up in your nervous system with PTSD.
Right. So trauma happens when something is unexpected and we feel helpless to it and we don't process through it. That's why most trauma happens to us before we're 7 years old, because it's, we're not able to verbalize it well, we can't process through, our brains can't handle it. And what that leaves is a little bookmark in our brain. And that bookmark is how to get back to that memory fast so you can protect yourself,
Mm.
so you can go into fight or flight, so you can run away. Because as a child, we just, we didn't have um, those capabilities. And so when we have those little bookmarks in our brain, every time something reminds us of that, we get re-traumatized and we get re-triggered and re-traumatized again. Anything that reminds us of that, but it still stays in a loop. It's like
Right.
another layer of cortisol is laid down, like on a gumball. Okay, here's another layer. Oh, now my boyfriend dumped me. Okay, here's another layer. Oh, now the guy that I'm engaged to, I got in a fight in. Okay, here's another layer, because it keeps recreating and adding to the original trauma, that original bookmark that's in your brain, and
Mm-hmm.
protecting it and making it more reactionary. So a trigger, let's say it's everybody else's fault that I feel lousy, that I feel triggered. Let's just say that's true. It's everybody else's fault that I feel terrible. But the
Right.
problem is they don't care, because we don't. We're responsible for ourselves. They're busy living their lives, and we continue to suffer.
Yeah.
So why would you want to continue to suffer? Take responsibility for the fact that there are many things we can do in order to make ourselves feel better and to comfort ourselves. And that's the key. The
Right.
key to reversing PTSD is to stay present and give comfort to yourself as you're going through these feelings, and not expecting anyone else to give it to you, because they aren't you. They don't know, that something happened to you when you were 2.5 years old. You
Right.
got dropped or slapped or were in a car accident. They don't know you're going through that. And so they're going to keep re traumatizing, and then their stuff will come up and it ends up in a big mess. But if you take that time every day to get grounded and reconnect, and it's hard to do it without help. Like I'm not crazy about hospitals, because they don't feel healing to me. They don't have the
They're
soft
sick systems.
colors.
They're not healing systems.
Yes. Yes, they're sick systems, and so a hospital is not generally nourishing and healing for me, because of the environment's too stark. Just like having a spiritual practice. You can't have an adequate spiritual practice sitting in the middle of a corporate boardroom, with
So true.
nothing on the walls. I
Right.
mean, get some music, get some oils, get some colors, get some butterflies, get
Yeah.
some trees. You have to have that support if you're ever going to feel connected. It's so hard to do it by yourself. And so when we make our feeling good a priority, that's when, as you said, you get that coherence. Your
Right.
radio antenna has a further distance that it can travel. You see things coming from a further distance. It's like now you have binoculars. You can be like, hey, there's a little wave on the horizon. What's that about? and you're able to watch it, navigate and maneuver, you like become a super person
It's
because you've got
true.
all these skills that other people don't have.
Right. That's really amazing. And do you think that PTSD completely leaves a person's system? Or do you think it's always
Yeah.
there to
Yeah.
tap into?
No, well, I think the memory stays, but the emotional charge goes away. It's really just it's like when you rub your socked feet across carpet, a static electrical charge builds up. And you can release the charge by touching something or grounding yourself in some way. This is the same thing. So when we have a trigger, it's not permanent. It's
Right.
it acts like a, a,
That's
a
true.
pop-up
I've
turkey
actually
timer.
lived exactly what you're talking about. So those of you who think like I'm never
Yeah.
going to get through it, trust me, I kept doing the work and it's like I now can see it and I'm like going, "Well, that used to activate the heck out of me, but I'm not even activated anymore."
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And so
Yeah.
we keep, every time we revisit it and we're compassionate to ourselves when we're struggling with it, another layer of cortisol comes off. We're able to be closer to our true, authentic self until it kind of busts free, almost like a seed in spring. It's so you're in the middle of, the memory's in the middle of this little gumball with,
Yep.
40,000 layers on it. And we
Mhm.
keep dissolving it and get smaller and dissolving it and get smaller until that energy, that memory wants to break free. So it'll break free, usually, in something that's kind of messy
Right.
because it's been held back for so long.
Mhm.
It needs to be told, it needs to be said. And once a lights shine on it, once we see it and it's expressed, processed through different outcome, then it goes away and
Right.
gets reabsorbed into the body for forever. It's really just like an electrical charge that's built up that can be released. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to stay in your system, although
That is so
energetically it
true.
can stay in your system if you don't let it go. But if you let it go, even energetically, it's gone.
Well, and then energetically, remember when we don't release it, and I've talked about this a lot, that it creates disease in your body. So let's not do that. Like,
Hmm.
love yourself enough to not
Hmm.
do that. And,
Hmm.
I want to, something's telling me to share. I want to share something that I actually posted yesterday on my Facebook page, and it goes along with this. I'd like to share it. It says, think about all the people in your life that you love unconditionally. And then think about this: there's this one person in your life that you will absolutely spend your whole entire life with from the moment that you are born until the day you are called home. That person is you. So, why wouldn't you love you just as unconditionally as you do each of them? And it's so true because we don't actually give to ourselves what we give to others. And I've realized that someone had shared with me, one of my coaches, that Julie, you just have this bandwidth. Like, as much as you can love, you can go to that place of, anger and rage. Like, we all have this bandwidth because it balances the shadow side of us along with the great sides of us. And until we like shine the light on the shadow and heal, because anger and rage is just deep sadness. And there's a lot of people who are super frustrated these days, and I'm finding that for whatever reason, you know we call in these other people to shine to ourselves. They mirror to us what it is that we are supposed to be learning and evolving into. And it's fascinating to me to actually be able to be in the place of the observer of this these days. And and the other little nugget, I've always said that if we keep focusing on our past, so money wise, I'm always talking about the fact that you have to clean up your past while living in the present moment and plan for the future all at the same time. And I want the past to just be on autopilot, have those debt payments be on autopilot, because you don't want to keep having to activate them, just like my alimony payments. my alimony payments, I don't want to think about it twice a month and send that money over. I don't want to think about it. So I have it, money gets deposited in my checking account for my paycheck and it goes like, I don't even think about it. It just goes. I even turned off the notifications that I know that the money's even going because I don't even want to be aware that it's going anymore. I just know my date that I'm done and that's it. Like, and we have to remember that in our cellular structure, we have these all these memories, right? So, like you said, the PTSD might go, but we have these memories, and but we really need to get our memories to be like 10-second memories because otherwise, you pull your past into your life today, which then plants the seeds for your tomorrow. And
Well, I have a trick for this. I do.
tell me, tell me,
I
tell me.
have a fun little trick for this. So okay, so you can think about the memory,
Yeah.
but you can shift what you're focusing on in the memory.
Ooh, tell
So
me more.
for example, and because I've been playing with this stuff for a while, and about 4 years ago, someone gave me some very disturbing, unexpected news, which caused my heart to skip a beat pretty hard. And I was in the moment and I said to myself, focus on the fact that there's a rainbow in the sprinkler water. Focus on the rainbow that you see in the sprinkler water. I said, you're going to appreciate this later. Focus on the rainbow. Don't focus on my feelings and how hurt I was. Focus on the rainbow. And so it's funny as I've been cleaning up these memories now, going back and getting them out of my field. I have that memory, which was a devastating memory for me
Yeah.
when it happened. I said, I'm erasing all of the emotional drama. And I
Mm,
made it feel like I even had an eraser. I'm erasing all the emotional drama and I'm focusing on the rainbow and I'm letting all that other stuff go. So if we
mm,
believe, and I do, that every moment is an opportunity, and you can either focus on the dysregulation and the dysfunction and the emotions and the hurt, or you can
right,
focus on the beauty. And so if you focus on the beauty in the memory, then when you think about the memory, it helps you create more of that part of the memory, more rainbows in the
right.
sprinkler water, you know?
That's so
So
true.
that's my
And
hack.
well, and we have to start to interrupt that process. It's like if our natural response is to go to something negative, like shift it. I was working with some people the other day where I was talking about, okay, what are your financial fears? What are your fears around money? And we started working with what those fears are. And I had them write down those fears. And then I was like, okay, once we write down those fears, now I want you to write down the opportunities in each of those fears. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, what's the opportunity? So, like, I always give the example, like, I had this woman, gosh, this was after my first book came out, like in 2008, when I wrote The Emotion Behind Money. And she was that salty person in a seminar that like wanted to ruin the whole experience for everybody because she was so negative and she was complaining and she was just like, yeah, but you're not right. Yeah, but da, 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 da. And I was like, I said, can you share with me? Because instead of trying to like shut her up and like just try to redirect, I was just like, oh no, we're going in for the jugular. And I go, can you tell me what has made you so frustrated? So I was like, we're going to do this live, right? I like totally abandoned my slides and I was like, we're going live. And she goes, well, I gave the last 25 years to this company and they just dropped me like a hot potato and I gave them everything. And she went into her story, right? And I go, that's amazing. And she goes, what is amazing about that? And I go, I'm sure all along the way, there were signs that you weren't happy at this job. And I said, and the beautiful opportunity here is that there are reasons why many of us don't leave our jobs, even though our heart and soul aren't in it. This is going back to our topic today about what's true for you. And it's like, and you and I both live our truth in the work we do in the world. Like we love what we do, right? Me and you, Rita. It's
Mhm.
amazing. And
Mhm.
but there's so many people that
Mhm.
don't, and because they're doing it
Mhm.
for the paycheck. And but you can
Mhm.
have a paycheck and do what you love. It's not an either or, it's an and.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
as I unpacked this woman's stuff and I just had her look at the opportunity was about the fact that um, she was now given the time and the space and a severance package to figure out that next right step. And
Mhm.
she all of a sudden just sat in her back in her chair and it was completely diffused. Like she just needed to feel those feelings of that anger because she
Mhm.
knew on some
Mhm.
level, just like we do in our relationships, that we negotiate ourselves away through the years. And it's in these little incremental pieces. It's not even anything major a lot of times. It's just these little pieces that then build up. And then all of a sudden it's like it's just dropped.
Mhm.
Boom. And then it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, here's what it is. And but
Mhm.
I can't stress enough that if we're not saying our truth and what is really true for us, how can the world show up in what we desire? Like if you're not
Mhm.
showing up to be authentically you in a relationship. Yeah, I was talking with one of my coworkers the other day and I was saying, well, it's okay. Stay in the mystery that you don't know how it's going to all shake out. But just if you are really aligned with what is in your heart and your knowing, you have no idea how that's all going to shift. No idea. But if you're not true to yourself, then it's never going to shift in the way that you want. Ever. Ever.
I remember, let's say 5, 6 years ago, I would have heard something like that, and I would have been like, "Yeah, great, but how do I actually put it into practice?" Because
Hmm.
what would happen for me is I would go into fight or flight. I would freeze. I couldn't even get out of my mouth what I was feeling. I just stuffed it down as far as I could in my body, and then
Right.
it turns into some sort of illness, or the
Right.
fact that you never feel good, or the fact that you're always triggered by stuff going on around you. There's always drama. And then when I learned all those great PTSD tools, you know, uh, which was before I met you,
Right.
I realized that I didn't have to have my body stop me from telling the truth. And that because before I felt betrayed by myself. When I was like in junior high, I'd pee myself when I was stressed out. I was even a cheerleader on the floor and we're doing routines and I'm
Totally.
pee's running down my leg,
Right.
because I'm that stressed out. I always felt like my body betrayed me. And the missing piece was learning how to give my body the love and the comfort and the safety that it needed
Mm,
so that it could let
right.
go of that anxiety and let go of the PTSD. So, I was
Totally.
listening to your story and I was thinking, wow, Julie did a really great job. And I said, how would I do that? And I said, oh, I would have stopped her at probably earlier than you did. I would have stopped her and I would have been like, okay, put your hand on your heart. All right, we're going to get some coherence. Now there's a blue ball under your hand. And I would take them into some visualization where they hear, the angel singing in their head and
Right.
they're at the edges of the multiverse, one
Right.
with everything that exists. And then you bring them back down and then you say, okay, and what was the problem again? And they're shifted into a different mindset and they've
Right.
let go of the PTSD because they took that lever of stress and they yanked it together. We pulled it over to be regulated. We
Yeah.
pulled it over to the other side. And that's what you did with her. You
That's
just said, no,
exactly
we're
it.
taking you down a different path. And then
Right.
so the same thing happened. I don't like feeling uh, I don't like long conversations about people's problems. I
Well, because
really
that's
don't.
bringing your past into the present moment. That's the whole
Yeah.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
So
that.
I immediately cut people, and I tell them, I'm probably going to interrupt you and this is what we do and this is how we do it. Cuz I'm like I do not want to relive your story and while it's like Charlie Brown's, cuz that's
Wah,
kind
wah,
of how
wah.
we
Yeah, I
feel,
totally know what you're
We've got
talking about. Yeah.
compassion, but we're like Yes, but right now you're trapped in your dysregulation and we just need to get you through that. And my thing is, how do I get them through that the fastest way possible? It's like, do
Right.
you want some chocolate? Let's do a let's do a
So true.
meditation. Let's put the
Yeah.
music on. Come on. Move through this. Let it go already. Let it go.
Yeah.
So it's
So
funny.
true. Speaking of letting it go, I just want to give you a warning. My computer just said in 1 minute and 26 seconds, it's rebooting itself and I can't figure out how to stop it.
Okay, no problem.
So do you have any like last minute thoughts to share? How do people get a hold of you? Because I think the work that you do with people is like critically important because we've not been taught in prior relationships by our parents and our communities how to be healthy in this front. And we're breaking all kinds of ancestral patterning. So how do people find you, Rita?
Yes, they go to ritahickmancoaching.com or they type in Rita Hickman on YouTube or Rita Hickman on Facebook. I've been around for about 14 years, so there's a lot of content out there. And I'd love to talk to women because then I'm trying to pull together a meditation class because I've been doing this for so long and now I want to turn it into a larger class. So I'm looking to talk to women about what they want to know about a spiritual practice or about
That's
meditation so
awesome.
that they can put that into their everyday life because I really think that's how we will evolve to the next version of human is by
Yes.
women like you and I
We got
meditating
10
every day.
seconds, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. It's
Okay.
going to cut us off. We'll see you guys
Okay.
next Tuesday. Thank you.
Bye.